Imagine opening your phone right now. You unlock the screen, you scroll past your unread messages, past all those endless social media feeds.
Just the usual daily doom scrolling.
Right, exactly. But then you open up this sleek, minimalist scheduling app. Only you aren't booking a dentist appointment. You aren't, like, trying to snag a table at that new restaurant downtown for a Friday night reservation.
No, definitely not.
You are opening this app or maybe making a quick automated call to some specialized clinic to literally schedule your own death.
It's a completely chilling thought experiment to kick things off. Just a routine, highly bureaucratic interface for the absolute end of your existence.
Yes, it's like
You're treating the ultimate unknown like a haircut appointment.
right. You just, pick a date, tap confirm, maybe get a little push notification a week before to remind you, and that's it. It is locked in the calendar.
Just another notification on the lock screen.
Exactly. So welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we're jumping into Durjoy Datta's novel, A Touch of Eternity. We are exploring a world that takes that exact terrifying premise and asks this massive question.
And it really is a massive question.
It is.
Yeah.
What happens to humanity, to our minds, and, to our hearts when death is just a calendar invite? Our mission today is to uncover what this extreme, absolute level of control actually teaches us about the messy, entirely unpredictable nature of life and love.
And I'm thrilled to be here to break this down. It's a brilliant premise because it completely upends how we fundamentally understand our own existence.
It really does.
We're looking at a society that has reached the absolute pinnacle of technological advancement. They have solved the great biological unknown.
Right.
But because of this death appointment system, this society is deeply, profoundly emotionally crippled.
Which is such a fascinating paradox to me. I mean, you would think that solving death, or at least like solving the surprise of death, would make everyone relax.
You'd think so, yeah.
It sounds like the ultimate anxiety cure on paper. But to really understand the story of A Touch of Eternity, we first have to understand the psychology of the people actually living in this world. Like, how did they spend a Tuesday when they know exactly when it all ends?
Exactly. Think about the profound shift in human psychology that occurs when death goes from being this looming, unpredictable inevitability.
Right, the shadow.
Yeah, the shadow that follows us our entire lives, to just a simple transactional choice you can schedule. I mean, throughout human history, the unpredictability of death has been the engine for almost everything we do.
Oh, for sure.
It drives art, it drives religion, philosophy, our basic survival instincts. If you have limited time and you don't know when the clock runs out, well, time has immense value.
That makes total sense.
But remove that unpredictability, make it a choice, and you effectively cause a hyperinflation of time. Its value just drops to zero.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm trying to map this onto how we live today. To me, this system sounds like the ultimate extreme endpoint of modern productivity culture.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Right, because we are already so obsessed with micromanaging and curating our existence, we curate our daily calendars down to the minute.
Guilty as charged?
Yeah, we all do it.
Uh-huh.
We curate our social media feeds to project the perfect image. We track our sleep cycles, our steps, our macros. Scheduling death feels like, I don't know, just the final box to check on a cosmic to-do list.
Yes, and taking that a step further, the text really suggests that our obsession with productivity is actually a masked fear of mortality.
Oh, wow.
We try to control our schedules because we fundamentally can't control our lifespan. But in this fictional society, it's the actual commodification of mortality itself.
So you're just turning the end of a human lifespan into an actionable calendar event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the psychological trap. When you remove the ticking clock, procrastination becomes eternal.
Oh, man.
Right? Why create art today? Why fall in love today? Why build a house today? You can do it literally whenever, or you can just opt out entirely.
But I have to push back here for a second, because part of me looks at this and thinks, doesn't this system actually sound kind of empowering?
How so?
Well, think about the people listening right now. We spend so much of our lives terrified of the unknown. A sudden car accident, a surprise medical diagnosis, a random tragedy.
Sure, the lack of control is terrifying.
Exactly. So if you take control of the ultimate fear, if you hold the absolute reins of your own mortality, doesn't that grant you a kind of supreme peace? You're no longer a victim of chance.
What's fascinating here is that you would think so, but the reality of the book points to the exact opposite conclusion. And this brings us to the first major theme from our sources, which is the inverted relationship between life and death.
Okay, break that down for me.
In this society, death paradoxically becomes the easy thing. It is controllable, it's a known safe variable, you just make an appointment and the pain stops.
Wow.
What becomes incredibly difficult, what remains an absolute terrifying mystery, is how to actually understand and navigate life.
So death is no longer the tragedy. The tragedy is having to wake up every single day and actively justify why you haven't booked the appointment yet.
Precisely. When you have an exit door that you can walk through whenever you want, the burden of figuring out how to exist, how to find meaning, it becomes overwhelmingly heavy.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
It is. The system removes the biological urgency of survival, but it doesn't provide a manual for how to actually live. So you have a society of people who are essentially paralyzed by the weight of infinite choice.
Which is such a brilliant transition into the actual narratives, because society isn't just a broad, abstract concept. It's made of individuals trying to survive this system.
Right.
And that brings us to how one specific person, our protagonist Druven, tries to mathematically calculate his way through this nightmare.
Druven is absolutely fascinating because he represents the central conflict of the entire story, the battle between pure logic and human emotion.
Yeah, he's really struggling with that.
Deeply. He is someone who is fundamentally confused about the boundary between life and death. He looks at this appointment system, and instead of just living, he's trying to logic his way through existence.
It's like he's treating his life and his eventual death like a complex mathematical equation that he just needs to solve to find the optimal outcome.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Let's really dig into the mechanics of that, because it's wild to me. How does someone actually use math to justify ending their life? Like, what is his logical argument?
It comes down to a very harsh risk assessment model. Druven essentially views life as a balance sheet of assets and liabilities.
A balance sheet. That's so bleak.
Very bleak. And in his view, the liabilities in life are guaranteed. You will experience physical pain, you will experience heartbreak, boredom, grief, and exhaustion.
Right. That's just part of being human.
That is 100% certain. The assets, however.
Things like joy, I assume.
Yes, joy, profound fulfillment, deep connection, those require immense effort, and crucially, they are never guaranteed.
Oh, man. So if you're looking at it purely like a computer algorithm.
Exactly. If the suffering is guaranteed and the joy is merely a low probability possibility, a purely logical system will tell you that the most efficient way to minimize the deficit is to liquidate the company.
You just shut it all down.
To reduce the timeline to zero, Driven is searching for the optimal moment to check out before the guaranteed pain outweighs the hypothetical joy.
And think about how paralyzing that is.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this right now, think about a time when you had like way too many choices. We talk about choice fatigue with streaming services all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
You sit down on a Friday night, you have access to literally thousands of movies, and you spend an hour scrolling.
Just endlessly scrolling.
Yeah. Getting more and more frustrated. You end up watching nothing at all. You just turn the TV off. Now apply that mechanism to your literal existence.
That's a perfect analogy for the existential freeze Driven is stuck in. When you open a streaming app, the sheer volume of choices raises your expectation of how good the movie should be.
Right. If it's not a masterpiece, it feels like a waste.
Exactly. If you pick one and it's just okay, you feel like you made the wrong choice. In Driven's world, when the ultimate control over your lifespan is handed to you, the pressure to justify your existence becomes suffocating.
Because every day has to be a masterpiece.
Exactly. If you choose to stay alive today, the day has to be worth it. You have to actively justify not taking the appointment.
Wow.
And if you're relying purely on a logical balance sheet, as Driven is trying to do, well, a random Tuesday rarely provides a perfectly logical reason to endure the mundane hardships of being human.
It's exhausting just thinking about it. I mean, he's trying to engineer all the risk out of his life. He's got his literal spreadsheet for suicide perfectly calibrated.
He really
He's
is.
weighing the pros and cons of another day. And then the absolute worst thing possible happens to a guy relying on pure math.
He encounters a variable that his equation fundamentally cannot process.
Love. Just as Druven is actively planning his death appointment, just as the logic is lining up perfectly, love enters his life. And it's not just a sweet, romantic montage. It's a total catastrophe for his worldview.
It is entirely a catastrophe. Love is a virus in his closed-loop algorithm.
A virus. I love that phrasing.
It creates an immediate, agonizing tension for him. Up until this point, his conflict was largely theoretical. He was just a philosopher sitting in an empty room calculating risk.
Right.
Now, It's fiercely practical. He had a plan. He was going to use the death appointment as a clean, logical escape from the confusion of existence.
But then love messes it all up.
Completely. Love forces an entirely new binary choice. Does he stick to his logical plan, choose death, and safely escape? Or does he surrender to this entirely new, messy, unpredictable feeling and actually learn how to live?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because there's this beautiful, just heartbreaking irony drawn out in Datta's world.
Oh, absolutely.
Dhruvan has been staring at death this whole time, trying to control it, trying to master it. But love shifts his entire perspective. Why? Because love teaches him that the true value of life is only actually understood when you realize you have something you are terrified of losing.
That is the core psychological mechanism of his transformation. I mean, before love, what did Dhruvan really have to lose by taking the appointment?
Nothing, really, just days.
Right, just days on a calendar, empty time. But love attaches profound emotional weight to that time. It anchors him to the physical world. Datta emphasizes this heavily in the text. Love is the ultimate disruptor because it completely rewrites your risk assessment.
It completely shifts him from, like, I have nothing to lose to I have absolutely everything to lose.
Yeah, exactly. When you love someone, you are voluntarily taking on risk. You are handing someone else the remote control to your nervous system.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
You are no longer in total control of your happiness or your suffering because it is now deeply intertwined with another person's well-being.
And in a society where the ultimate goal seems to be controlling your own end and avoiding pain, choosing to intertwine your fate with someone else's is an act of sheer terror.
It is. It forces him to confront the fact that he wasn't being logical at all. He was just being a coward.
Wow.
He was hiding behind the illusion of control. He was using the death appointment to avoid the terrifying vulnerability of actually caring about something.
Because caring hurts. If the person you love is in pain, you are in pain. If they leave, you are devastated. Logic says to avoid that scenario entirely.
But the book makes the compelling argument that a life devoid of that risk is entirely sterile. It's not a life, it's just a waiting room.
Just a waiting room.
Right. Love injects vivid, undeniable meaning into what was previously a very calculated existence. It forces Dhruvan to rip up the balance sheet entirely.
So let's zoom out here for a second.
Huh?
Let's take Dhruvan's specific dramatic journey and figure out what it means for us.
Okay, let's do it.
Because you and I, and the person listening to this right now on their commute or at the gym, we don't have a death appointment app on our phones,
Thankfully.
right? But we absolutely grapple with these same core issues every single day.
We certainly do. The overarching themes of the story echo incredibly loudly in our reality, particularly the theme of choice and consequences.
Yeah.
The book amplifies this by looking at the literal binary choice of life and death, showing how every choice carries massive weight. But in our lives, it's about the daily micro-choices we make to either engage with the world or retreat from it.
Right. It forces you to ask, like, do I have skin in the game?
Yeah.
Am I just drifting through my routines, or am I actively opting into my life?
Exactly.
And that leads directly into the biggest philosophical battle of the whole deep dive,
Sure.
which is the tension between control versus surrender. The ultimate realization that Dhruvan comes to is that life cannot simply be managed.
It really can't.
It cannot be curated. It cannot be optimized on a spreadsheet or a habit tracker app. It demands to be felt.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, if you try to control life entirely, you squeeze the actual living right out of it. You are just managing logistics.
Yeah.
The illusion of control is something we are intimately familiar with today. We rely on technology to control virtually every aspect of our environment.
Oh, absolutely.
We control the temperature of our homes from our phones. We control what media we consume with hyper-specific algorithms that only show us things we already agree with.
Yep, the echo chambers.
Exactly. We control our social interactions through text messages where we can perfectly draft, edit, and delete our responses before anyone ever sees our raw reactions.
We've basically engineered discomfort and unpredictability completely out of our daily routines. I mean, we use dating apps to filter out physical traits or political views we don't like before we even say hello.
Right.
We use map apps so we never get lost. We are terrified of the unexpected.
And because of that, a narrative like A Touch of Eternity serves as a massive wake-up call. It aggressively pushes back against that instinct.
It really does.
Datta takes our modern obsession with comfort and control to its absolute logical extreme.
Controlling death itself.
Controlling death itself, exactly. And he shows us the emotional wasteland it creates. The message is clear. We have to surrender to our emotions. We have to embrace the lack of control because the friction of the unknown is where the actual texture of life exists.
And we should definitely touch on how Durjoy Datta delivers this. Because you hear us tossing around phrases like existential freeze and commodification of mortality.
It sounds
It
heavy.
sounds like a dense, dry academic textbook.
Yeah.
But that's not how this book reads at all, right?
Not at all. And that's crucial to its impact. Data's writing style is incredibly accessible. It's modern, it's punchy, and it relies heavily on raw emotional dialogue rather than long philosophical monologues.
Which I think is really the only way a story like this actually works.
For sure.
If you're going to pitch a sci-fi world where people casually schedule their own deaths, you need the characters to sound like real flawed people you'd meet at a coffee shop. Not like philosophers giving lectures from a podium.
You need the reader to feel the modern emotional panic of the situation.
Exactly.
By using simple, relatable language, he sneaks these massive existential questions right past our defenses. You think you're just reading a gripping story about a guy who falls in love at the wrong time,
Yeah.
and suddenly you're questioning the entire foundation of how you prioritize your own life. It resonates because it reflects our own tech-obsessed reality back at us, but with the emotional stakes dialed up to a 10.
It's like the book is holding up a mirror to our productivity apps, our life hacks, and our perfectly curated social grids and saying, look at what you are aiming for. If you actually get everything you want, if you successfully control every single variable, you will be utterly miserable.
Because you will have eliminated the very space where love, surprise, and genuine human connection actually happen. Those things require friction.
They really do.
They require vulnerability. They require the unknown.
Okay, let's bring this all together. What is the absolute core lesson, the final takeaway from this deep dive into A Touch of Eternity?
It all boils down to this. To truly understand life, you have to feel it, not control it.
Yeah.
And love is the essential, chaotic, entirely unmanageable ingredient that makes that unpredictable life actually worth living.
Control is just a seductive illusion. It keeps us safe from pain, yes, but it also keeps us completely isolated from joy.
Driven's mathematical journey is a stark reminder that the vulnerability of love, the willingness to be hurt, is the only thing heavy enough to anchor us to this world and justify the difficulty of living.
So as we wrap up, I want to direct this right back to you, listening to us right now. Take a hard look at your own life today. Look at your daily routines, your relationships, your career goals. Where might you be prioritizing rigid control over actual, messy, lived experiences?
It's a vital question for self-reflection.
It really is. Are there areas where you are trying to schedule your emotions or manage your connections so tightly that you aren't actually feeling them at all?
Are we using our modern tools, our apps, and our desperate desire for predictability as a shield against the very things that give life its color?
Exactly. Are you treating your life like a project to be managed or an experience to be felt? And I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. Think back to that app we talked about at the very beginning, the ultimate tool of control in Datta's fictional world.
The death appointment app.
Right. If love completely shatters that control, if love forces us to realize the profound, irreplaceable value of life precisely because we suddenly fear losing it, is falling in love actually the ultimate act of rebellion?
That's a powerful way to frame it.
In a world both fictional and real that is obsessed with scheduling, optimizing, and controlling its own end, maybe surrendering to love is the most radical, defiant thing you can possibly do. Because love, with all its beautiful messiness and terrifying unpredictability, is the one appointment you can never ever book in advance.